question under the joint venture account, and I won't really go into details telling you what to do and what not to do. I will solve this question in a way you're going to understand it, and I'll also advise you to follow the link below to read on the theoretical aspect of it, so that you also have a better understanding on what I'm doing now or what I'm about to do. Okay? So take note of this. Each time you're to answer a question under the joint venture, you need to know how many venturers are into that venture account or into that venture. Then you also need to know what their agreement is, what they have agreed to, what the share of profit is going to be like, if they have agreed to share the profits or losses equally or on ratio basis. Okay, so in this question we have here, it has to do with David and Isaac. Okay, David and Isaac. Now we'll have these two cash book for David and for Isaac. Okay, but the title, how do we get to know what to write under the title? So for the title, since it has to do with David and Isaac, it means this first one will be what? David's book. This is David's book. Okay, now since the venture has to do with David and Isaac, you will now write what? Joint venture with Isaac. Joint venture with Isaac. Okay, now you come over to the next one. Since this is David's book, this next one will be what? Isaac's book. So we'll write Isaac's book. Now the account has to do with David and Isaac, alright? So we'll now have what? Joint venture with Isaac. So joint venture with David. Okay? David's book, joint venture with Isaac. Isaac's book, joint venture with David. Okay, so let's go. David and Isaac entered into a joint venture to sell petroleum and petrochemical products. They agreed that the profit and loss should be shared equally. You take note of this again. Now they have agreed that the profit and loss should be shared equally. Okay, equally, either it's 50-50 on 50-50 basis. All right. Okay, now Isaac purchased petroleum on the 1st of March 2001 to the value of 125,000. Isaac. Now Isaac, it has to do with Isaac. All right, so you come under Isaac's book and you write what? Purchases, because they said he purchased petroleum. So we have what? Purchases. And how much was it? 125,000. Okay, now, and accepted a bill drawn on him by the seller payable in 5 months for the month due. Okay, now he paid. Who is the he? They are still referring to Isaac here. All right, so he paid freight and carriage of 3,000 naira. So you have what? We have freight and carriage, okay, for 3,000. So we have 3,000 here. On 1st of March, the consignment was sold by David for 155. Now they said it was sold by David, and our sales, anything sales will be coming on the credit side. Okay, anything sales will be coming on the credit side. Now since David sold the consignment, so we had what? We have sales, and because they told us it was sold by David, that is the reason why we record it under David's book. Okay, so we have sales of 155,000. 155,000. 155,000. Okay, now, and payment was received as follows. Now this 95,000 plus 60,000, that was what gave us the 155,000. So you can just put it in brackets. 60,000 plus 95,000. These were the value that gave us the 155,000, isn't it? Okay, so what else? Expenses in connection with the venture were paid by David. We are paid by David. The expenses were paid by David on the 1st of August, amounting to 3,500. So when we come over to this section, we have what? Expenses. Expenses. And how much is the expenses? 3,500. 3,500. On the 1st of September, he paid Isaac the amount due to him. Now, with everything we've done here, we've answered this question. But we need to know what their profit or loss is. We need to know if they made profit or if they made loss. So, you can stop here, or you will stop here, then we'll move over to the memorandum account. When we are done with the memorandum account, then we'll come back to balance this transaction. Because by the time we solve this question, the balance brought down which we have will now determine how much that will be shared between the both of them, because that shows us the value for either their profits or the loss. So what do we have here? This will now be titled what? The memorandum joint accounts. Memorandum joint account. Memorandum joint account. Now let us start with what we have. We have the expenses here. So we have what? Expenses. What we do under this memorandum account is to bring the both transaction of both David and Isaac together to balance it off, then determine the profit. Please make sure you read the blog post helpingstudents.com.ng/joint venture accounts to get a better understanding about this, because I have written and I've analyzed it well for you in that blog post. So the expenses is how much? 3,500. And what is the next thing we have? Purchases. We have purchases. And the purchases is how much? 125,000. We have what? F and C, which was what? The freight and the carriage expenses. That was amounting to 3,000. So, is there any other thing we have on the debit side? No entry. Now we'll come over to the credit side. We have what? Sales. And how much is the sales? 155,000. 155,000. So what do we do now? The next thing we do is to balance up, okay? So let's go. Since we've recorded everything we have here, we need to balance this account. I've always told us that in accounting, that both your debit and the credit side must give you the same value. So by the time we sum everything here, already looking at it, this gives us 65. This should be 131,500. So this value here is not up to 155,000, which means this value is greater than this, okay? So we have this particular value on the both sides, 155,000, 155,000, because this value is lesser than this. Now, to make this value or this account, these figures we have here to be the same with this, we will now subtract 255,000 from the value we have here, which is what? 23,500. Now, this 23,500 we have here now stands as our balance CD, okay? Our balance CD, which is our balance carried down. 23,500 is now our balance CD. Now we'll come over to the credit side. We'll have our what? Our balance BD to be what? 23,500. Now it doesn't stop here. This 23,500 we have now stands to be the profit, okay? So we'll have to share it between the both of them, between David and Isaac. Now when we come back to the question, we can see that the question told us that the profits and losses should be shared equally. That was what they agreed on, to be shared equally, okay? So each of them is going to have half of it, all right? Half of it. So the next thing we do here is now to determine the share of profits. So the share of profits and loss. That is the next thing we'll have here. So we want to determine, and how do we do that? We'll now write what? David. This is for David. And how much is this? 23,500. Remember they said it to be shared equally. So we said what? 1/2 times 23,500 is going to give us the value for David. Okay? Now for Isaac, we'll say 1/2 times 23,500. Okay? So this value here gives us what? 11,750 and 11,750. Because the question told us that they have agreed that their profit or loss will be shared equally, All right, so you can either say 1 over 2 times 23,500 or 23,500 divided by 2. It will still give you the same value. So for David, this is the profit, and for Isaac, this is the profit. Now, what do we do? 11,750. So the next thing we do is to record now. So we have our P and L to be how much? 11,750. 11,750. Okay? 11,750. So let's balance up these accounts now. Let's balance this up. Now this is 155,000. Already we know it is greater than the value we have here, isn't it? So we have what? 155,000 at this section, in this section as well. Now what is the difference between these two values? 155,000 to minus this value, it gives us what? 139,750. 139,750. So this particular value we have here now becomes our what? Our balance CD. Our balance CD. So it comes down to this place to be our balance BD, which is 139,750. Okay? Now we are done with this. What about here? Let us balance this place as well. Now what is his own share? What is Isaac's share of profit? It is 11,750. So we have what? 11,750. So we get the total now. There is no value here, okay? So let's go. Now the summation of everything we have here gives us what? 139,750. So coming to this section, what do we have? This balance here, this particular balance, remember this is also the profit and loss. This is the profit and loss for Isaac. So 11,750 plus 3,000 plus 125,000 gave us 139,750. So here it becomes our what? The balance CD, where we have 139,750. We'll bring down the same value to this place, 139,750. Now, since our balance CD is on this section, it means our balance BD will be on this other place, on the debit side. So we'll have our balance brought down. It is equal to 139,750. Now, when we take a look at both David's book and Isaac's book, we'll find out that they will have the same balance, all right? They made a profit and they've shared it equally, and it has resulted to this balance. So my good friends, joint venture account, it's very, very easy. All you have to take is for you to have a better understanding about it. You practice regularly, you solve several questions, all right? Then you always make sure you practice regularly and you solve several questions. So my good friends, thank you for today, and thank you for paying attention to this. Thank you for watching this video. If you have questions or you need clarifications, you just drop a comment below and we'll definitely get back to you. Remember, visit our website and read on the theoretical aspect of this so that you have a better understanding, and you also see the format which we have made available for you. Thank you, and do have a wonderful day.